Welcome to today's top story. I think that in any community, one of the biggest issues that is of concern is crime, specifically break-in enters, because they seem sometimes to go in trends. They seem to be emboldened sometimes. We're hearing a lot more about daytime break-ins where somebody just walks into your house and steals from you while you could be in the house. Let's talk about Sault Ste. Marie to see what the situation's like here specifically. Joining us is the Master of Information at City Police, Sonny Spina. Good to see you. How are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Thanks for having me back.
No problem at all. So tell us about the Bear Unit, first of all.
Yeah, so the Bear Unit is our break-enter and robbery unit. This is a unit of about 4 officers that work together all the time, and specifically they work at incidents involving break-in enters, reports involving break-in enters, robberies, thefts, things like that. And they also work in unison with other units as well. They work very, very closely with our drug unit and other officers throughout our service, and they basically try and compile all of the information they can to find successful resolutions to any calls relating to break-in enters or robberies, and also to find any links between these calls for service.
Now, a link between calls for service, are you referring to some break-in enters occur because of the drug industry in Sault Ste. Marie?
Yeah, we know that sometimes that happens. We also know that oftentimes when break-in enters happen, there's not just one. A person who's a suspect or an accused in a break-in enter oftentimes is not accused of just one offense. You may see multiple offenses that the person is charged with, and sometimes by investigating that, we're able to determine or connect them to other crimes that have happened as well.
Now, when we think about, or when I think about break-in enters, I always think about somebody's home or somebody's apartment. Is that solely where the focus is with the Bear Unit, or is it like on cars and businesses, that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, great question. So, a break-in enter, when we look at the numbers for break-in enters, and people often confuse it a little bit because if somebody does steal something from a vehicle, they report it as a break-in enter. Well, a break-in enter can only happen to something that we call, or what is defined as, a place. And a place is your home, a business, things, buildings, structures, things like that. So a vehicle is not a place. So as much as it feels sometimes like a break-in enter, it's not. It's actually a theft, or a theft from a vehicle. Right? So these officers do look into those cases, the thefts from vehicles, and we find that oftentimes the same person is responsible for a number of those. But when we look at break-in enters, yes, it is happening at residences, and yes, we do have break-in enters that have happened to businesses and other buildings around town, and these officers are really great at tracking down individuals that are responsible for that.
Now, something that we have to think about or have to deal with in Northern Ontario, not just Sault Ste. Marie specifically, but all of Northern Ontario, is seasonal break-ins. Because so many of our second residences, like our camps and stuff, are closed down for the winter. What's a good suggestion there? Should we take runs out there to make sure things are okay? How big of a problem is that?
Yeah, so you're right. In Sault Ste. Marie, we have within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can drive anywhere to get to your camps, right? And that's one of the biggest attractions and one of the biggest things that can draw people here. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, what we know is as our city grows and as people start using these camps more, access is a little bit better. It's a little easier to get into these places, and in fact, you'll notice that in a lot of them, people do live year-round very often now. Now, there's a lot of services that can help you to, check on your camps while you're not there or things like that. But the biggest thing that I tell people is know your neighbors. Get out, talk with your neighbors, make some kind of a plan between all of you to know when you're going to be there and to check each other's property. Make sure you know who's there, share your phone number, share your contact information, and really be in contact with them as much as you can.
And you know what? That's such a good idea. It's neighborhood watch all over again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Now tell us about the specifics for in the city as of like 2019. We've closed out the year. Compared to other years, has it been a good, a bad one?
Well, there's a lot of tremendous successes that the Sault Ste. Marie Police Service has had over the last year. Now, when we talk about break-in enters specifically, when you look at this 4-officer unit, they were responsible for the arrest of 275 people since January of last year until around Christmas time this year.
And there's only 4 of them?
And there's only 4 of them. That's a lot of arrests. That's not including the arrests that other officers have made outside of that unit. So collectively, our service has arrested far more people than that. But specific to break-in enters, robberies, thefts, these 4 officers themselves have arrested over 275 people in less than a year. Now, those 275 people are facing well over 1,200 criminal charges. Like I said earlier, sometimes we find that these individuals are connected to other crimes, and our officers were able to lay well over 1,200 criminal charges on those individuals. They were able to recover $170,000 worth of stolen property, much of which we were able to return to the rifle owners. And during their partnership working with our drug unit, they were able to seize over $200,000 of illicit narcotics. And that's just a small unit of 4 officers working really around the clock. They really work tirelessly throughout the year.
Now, when we refer to these specific 4 officers, as you said, other officers, if things come up, they will take charge.
Absolutely.
Of course, they're not going to ignore it. But these 4 officers, was there extra training for them, or have they always been involved in that?
Yeah, so our officers at our service are trained to really handle anything that comes up. We have specific training that officers can take that help with absolutely everything. The difference in this unit is they're actually dedicated. They have time where they're dedicated to this unit to do these investigations, to conduct these investigations. Now, unfortunately, a patrol officer who would respond is limited in time because there's more calls for service coming in that need potentially to be answered immediately because of some danger to the public. These officers work off the shift and they have the time that they can actually put into these investigations, and it shows how much time they've actually put in.
Now, tell us with regards to what we can do as homeowners, as apartment dwellers, as business owners. You know, obviously it's like lock the door, but beyond that, what can we do?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people can do to make their homes less attractive to people who are breaking in. We've all heard in the past about, you know, your automatic light timers and things like that, right? Those are important, but you need to take a look at your home and really look at everywhere around your home. Are there access points, you know, are there basement windows that are maybe covered by bushes or something where somebody could go in and not be seen? These are areas you want to keep clear, right? So you really want to look at your environment around your home and see if there's any place where somebody could, you know, secretly be and not be noticed.
Could actually hide and take their time getting in.
Absolutely, right? You want to clear all those obstructions away so it's completely visible so that people can see. Now, when you do that, it's important to make sure you do secure those windows, secure those doors, make sure that, you know, no one's has an easy opportunity to enter your home. Myself, I have 2 giant dogs that live with me, and they're fantastic.
There's an alarm system.
They're a great deterrent for anything, right? They're absolutely lovable, and I love every minute I get to spend with them. Yeah, but not a person can go by my neighborhood without my dogs letting me know they're there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what
really
I
good.
use. Yeah, that's what I use personally. But you know, it's really important to make sure that your home, your environment at your home, is not easily accessible to would-be thieves.
Now, tell us about alarm systems. How do you feel about them? Are they like, oh, good, you know what? I will never be robbed because I have an alarm system.
Well, you know,
because I think that's what you feel, right? You're just like relieved and okay, I'm in my safe zone now.
You know, alarms have come a long way in the last several years, in fact, you know, and I can remember years ago when I first started working with the police service, an alarm call would come in and really you just kind of had an alarm and you didn't really know where it was in a home, you just knew there was an alarm at a residence. Well, they've come so far now that not only will it tell you that the alarm is going off at a residence, it'll tell you where inside the residence, if it's a motion alarm, if it's a door break, a glass break.
Really?
And even now you can even pull out your phone and find video live streaming right back to your phone from your residence.
Wow.
They've come so far in the last little while. So you can actually know if, wait a minute, it was just a raccoon that knocked over my garbage.
Right, right.
Yeah, you know, and these are things that people can actually do on their own, outside of the police service. You can get these, you know, these types of systems and alarms. Not everyone can afford that type of a system.
Yes.
To get it, but it certainly does provide you that added security and that added confidence when you leave your home.
Now, it feels like we're hearing a lot more about bold break and enters, like just blatant disregard, daytime. If somebody walks in on you, you're sitting at your kitchen table, you know, reading the newspaper, and somebody walks in on you, what's your reaction? What should you do?
Well, I mean, we always advocate for people to never really get in a confrontation with anybody. We don't want to see that. We want to see you contact the police immediately. So in my career, yeah, I have seen sometimes where someone has entered a home unlawfully, and a homeowner or a resident has been there and they've been confronted, and the vast majority of the time that person flees the scene or whatnot before the police arrive. We don't want to see someone getting themselves hurt. We don't want to see anyone putting themselves in harm's way. There's no piece of property that you own that is worth your safety or your life. We want you to, get out of there as quickly as you can and contact the police.
One time, my personal vehicle had been rifled through. Not a lot was taken, change was taken. And when you hear of those situations, I think a lot of people's initial reaction is, oh, kids. They wanted to go buy cigarettes or booze or pot or whatever.
Yeah, and oftentimes people do say that, right? And that's not always the case. It's we have a wide variety of people who commit offenses. They're really any age, any gender, any race. It's anybody out there, right? And it's really these types of incidences when there's a theft from your vehicle. These are things that people get angry about very, very quickly, right?
It's so personal.
It is. It's a real invasion, and that's why I spend a lot of time telling people not to leave anything in your car, right? If there's nothing in there, if there's nothing in your vehicle, you don't have anything to worry about. Don't leave, change, personal items. I don't even leave old papers or anything in there. It's you don't.
It's not worth it.
No, it's not worth the attraction, right? You want to make it as least attractive as you can. You don't want anyone getting in there.
Now, for someone who might have an inkling that somebody tried to get in. Especially in the winter, obviously, you can see footprints to your shed, or you've been away for the weekend, you come back and there's lots of footprints in your backyard. Is that a time to call police? Because I think a lot of people don't want to bother you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are things that you can report without an officer actually coming to your residence.
Oh, okay, good.
And that's actually really important for us at times, because when we're looking at offenses, when we're looking at sometimes a trend, it's important for people to be able to notify us that something has happened so that we can track it, right? So yeah, okay, if there's footprints on your property and you recognize that nothing was stolen, but they maybe attempted to get in, and you say, well, I'm not going to bother the police with that. That might be information that's important for us to be able to track a trend in a certain area. So I would always encourage people to call us to report it. You don't always necessarily need an officer to come out to your house to do that report. You can certainly do that over the phone.
So it would actually help you guys.
Absolutely,
because now you're looking at that specific neighborhood?
Yeah, the more information we get, the better, because we can just put that in and we can track where things are happening. It helps us in when we're trying to decide where to deploy our resources. We know where things are happening.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much for the
No,
information.
thank you.
Always good to see you.
It's always great to be here. Thank you.
And we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yes, we'll see you there.
On Top
Thanks.
Story. We'll be right back.